Hi, I'm Torte de Lini. Patch 7.36 has been one of the largest patches of this game's lifetime and thus has a lot of currently overpowered heroes. So let's check in on which heroes and their facets are the strongest right now at the start of the new patch. We'll do a proper meta weather update once the patch has settled, and I've updated all the guides, but let me know in the comments which heroes you have worked on or have found success with. Alright, next up is Templar Assassin, who has had her laning stage reduced in difficulty thanks to her side blades now becoming an innate ability. This means that you can actually start with the level of refraction to help with last hits right from the get-go. In fact, you can actually start maxing out refraction for the extra damage, as side blades comes with build damage. Committing levels more into side blades is nice, but honestly you get way more value in maxing out refraction and meld first, especially post laning stage where you can start taking stacked jungle camps fairly quickly. Essentially, that bonus damage from refraction and items like Desolator compensate for the new side blades scaling, where the damage when your side blades spill over now starts at 80%. To add, in 7.36, they gave Templar Assassin a bit more health and regen range and faster projectile. Also, thanks to her new facet Refractor, any harassment that she takes that breaks her refraction barrier converts to a refraction damage instance. So right from level 1, you can take some comfortable harassment knowing that you can deal the damage back with a few extra refraction instances in terms of damage. So at max level, instead of 5 instances of damage and health barrier, you can now have 5 health barrier instances, and assuming you take any damage to lose that health barrier instance, up to 10 refraction instances. The 5 you get when you activate refraction, and the 5 that convert from the health barrier. In 7.35D, Zeus was already one of the most popular mid laners of that patch. In 7.36, the changes Zeus received only made him stronger, and I will consider him one of the best heroes to play with very little changed in terms of his 2 builds. For starters, Zeus's static field is back as an innate ability, which essentially shifted his arc lightning percentage based health damage to now be based on all abilities as well as attacks. So basically any of Zeus's spells or attacks now deals additional damage based on the current health percentage of the enemy he's targeting. Higher health means more damage, whereas the closer they are to death, the less the additional damage your attacks and spells will do. Now the facets are split into 2 parts. One, Livewire's facet is more about your physical build, where your static field innate ability does increased health percentage damage depending on how close you are to the enemy. The closer you are, the more additional percentage damage you will deal. This plays more into Zeus's Lightning Hands Ag Shard ability, where you play relatively closer than you do when casting spells. To add, the fact that it does significantly more static field damage really lends itself to Zeus playing with more attack speed to whittle opponents down incredibly fast. So late game, items like Hurricane Pike, Bloodthorn, and Black King Bar are seeing a lot of popularity. I would honestly say that Livewire actually in general just seems good even if you're not a physical based attack hero, because it helps with farming as creeps are going to be attacking you, giving you maximum damage output from static field, same with your illusions. I even had a good time using Livewire during the laning stage where I could easily last hit creeps when I ran out of mana to use Arc Lightning. Now, Divine Rampage revolves around your ultimate ability, Thunder God's Wrath, where it's a global but not instant damage dealing lightning bolt to all enemies. Basically, it will sequentially target the lowest health enemy first, and if you kill them, then it will hurt all the next ones with significantly more damage. Because of this potential kill streak, late game items are around the idea of pushing out as many Thunder God's Wraths as possible, so items like Octarine Core, Refresher Orb. In 7.36, they made Legion Commander pretty insane. Not only is your sustain in lane much easier with your innate ability, Moment of Courage, but they also gave her one of the strongest facets in the game, Stonehold Plate. People like to think that Spoils of War is the stronger facet because your duels give damage to both Legion Commander if you win those fights, but also to anyone who attacks the enemy during that duel. But the reality is that actually Stonehold Plate gives insane levels of barrier right from the laning stage, where casting overwhelming odds near 2 enemy heroes can give something like 250 to 300 health barrier. What we're seeing lately on Dota 2 Pro Tracker are Legion Commander games ending incredibly quickly, just because of how massively dominating overwhelming odds is in the laning stage, but also across duels. To add, in 7.36, she also has a new Ag Scepter, which both increases the duel duration and also applies debuff immunity to her for the duration of the duel. Not only is this nearly the same price as the Black King Bar, 4050 versus 4200 gold, but the stats are way more appreciated for Legion Commander with more damage and strength than as you get from Black King Bar, as well as it having a duration that will never diminish, unlike that of, again, Black King Bar. Not to mention that late game you can always consume the Ags into Ags Blessing and free up a slot, whereas you typically be stuck with Blacking Bar for the rest of the game. So really the hero has just incredibly better scaling going Ag Scepter for relatively no difference in cost. This is the hero to play, and her build honestly hasn't changed that much. You max overwhelming odds into normal courage, you build Phase Boots, Blade Mail, Blink Dagger, and Ag Scepter. In 7.36a, she has been nerfed during her laning stage, but I still feel she is incredibly powerful. In 7.35d, Venomancer was already a top tier support given his ability to set up easy kills with a level 1 Venomous Gale at a 50% slow. That's still there, but it's also his ability to hastily farm with his Plague Wards and him being a great Guardian Greaves holder that still makes him so prevalent. And honestly, all that hasn't changed, except now his Venomous Gale also starts with his innate ability, Poison Stain, so the follow through from that slow with Poison Harassment from Venomancer's auto attack make him scary as hell. What's actually crazy is the new Ag Shard for Venomous Gale means anyone who dispels Venomous Gale straight up takes 300 damage and are stunned for 1.6 seconds. That's an 18-second cooldown ability that can hit multiple enemies, so it's definitely brutal late game to deal with that for anyone against Venomancer. Lastly, his facet, Patient Zero, bends his ultimate ability twice over. So while the first enemy may be taking, a 300 initial damage from the Noxious Plague ultimate ability, it's the two others who receive the bounces that can lose up to 6% of their max HP as damage and are slowed for 50%. In 7.35d, Tiny was mostly played as a pause 4 hero with a very little needed to succeed. Now in 7.36, he can also play as a pause 1 carry, substituting his role previously as a position 2 mid laner that was actually very rarely played in the previous patches. So now instead of being a mid game ganker that initiates and bursts down targets, whether as a support or a mid laner, he's playing still as a mid game ganker, but really taking advantage of his right click with Echo Saber, Shadow Blade, as opposed to his Avalanche Toss combo. Insurmountable Facet essentially strengthens Tiny as a pause 1 by having a strength dole out status and slow resistance. At level 20, with most of his core items like Sange and Yasha, Echo Saber, Black King Bar, Tiny can have somewhere between 45 to 50% slow resistance and 30 plus status resistance, including the resistance that you gain from Sange and Yasha. In short, Tiny is still a great position for a hero, albeit not doing as much harassment with True Grab as before, but his safe laning has much better scalability for a hero that has great armor, bad strength gain, but good farming and tower destroying capabilities. Definitely an interesting pick for a safe laner. Weaver actually is doing great at both the standard position 1 hero with Gleipnir and Daedalus with the facet Skitter Step, and as a position 4 support with the facet Hive Mind. So just to get out of the way, as a position 1, Weaver's innate ability of Gemini Attack makes last hitting incredibly easy. What is frustrating to play against Weaver is that her first 2 levels are insanely powerful, as 1 point Shikuchi and 1 in the Swarm means he is almost guaranteed to get a kill in the lane, since the facet also slows targets momentarily when Weaver Shikuchi's onto them. So not only is Weaver repositioning to get close to you to kill you, but he's also damaging and slowing you down for a brief moment before dealing bonus Gemini attacks. As for Weaver position 4, the Hive Mind facet is pretty bonkers. Weaver as a position 4 was popular a few years ago, and seeing it rear its head back into the meta is scary. Essentially, the facet Hive Mind enhances Weaver's to Swarm to now leech off experience for every attack it deals on a hero. For carries, that may not be an issue, but for supports with low attack speed, this is a nightmare, and it only furthers Weaver's presence and leveling as a support. What you'll see is Weaver start harassing with his free Gemini attack and Shikuchi, and then from there on, without boost of speed, he'll rush an Earth of Shadows and Spirit Vessel to take advantage of his to Swarm timing, which he'll max out first or second next to Shikuchi. Eventually, with enough successful ganks, he'll go for Radavetos and Gleipnir. What's really annoying about Weaver as a support is that he just has no problem farming, as he'll use the Swarm to whittle down creep camps with lower armor to farm them up quickly with his attacks and Shikuchi. He's essentially a pseudo pause 3 hero, just based on how much he can stay on top of his levels and gold in comparison to other more dedicated position 4 heroes, all the while roaming around the map with the Spirit Vessel. There's really no downside with this hero, mostly if you stay on the offensive and make use of your abilities to either gank, farm, or both. Let's talk about Winter Wyvern. A lot of people are going to be reading the Winter Wyvern facets and think the Dragon Sight one is finally going to be the thing that makes Winter Wyvern's offensive, the standard way to play her. It's actually the essence of the blue heart that has pro players excited. Basically, for any and all heals you deal, you also restore mana. Obviously, with Winter Wyvern's Cold Embrace, that has massive ramifications on top of items like Holy Locket. Not only gives Winter Wyvern better mana, but also her Cold Embrace heals for more and thus gives mana to her allies for more as well. So you can essentially bring back an ally from near death to full health and mana with just a couple of Cold Embraces and Holy Locket. So now the skill build is usually Cold Embrace when you reach level 2, so you can give your ally a bit of heal and mana to spam their spells to guarantee last hits, or to harass the enemies back during the laning stage. On top of that, Winter Wyvern can now target allies with Splinter Blast. That means that ganking with your team on single enemy targets is now much easier for Winter Wyvern without having to hope that the target is near lane creeps or jungle camps, since you can now just target the ally and the Splinter Blast will bounce off to hit your ganked enemy. 7.36 also made Winter Curse way more rewarding to pull off, even if the target is by itself, meaning that there are no nearby teammates. The reward is that if you pull off a Winter's Curse where enemies get taunted into attacking the target, your stun duration will be significantly longer, allowing you to cast more Splinter Blasts during that period. This is essentially a reverse position to before, where if you use Winter's Curse on a target with no nearby taunted enemy teammates, then it would end prematurely. Lastly, Wyvern's innate ability, Eldworm Scholar, is a nice cherry on top and incentivizes teams that steal enemies' Wisdom's Rune. In short, Winter Wyvern is just way more laning effective, as well as in the mid game with ganking, since the improvement to a longer minimum stun duration and the comfort of using Splinter Blast on allies to hit those ganked single enemy targets. Finally, Shadow Shaman. I think if you played against this hero, you would pretty much know that this new innate ability that it has is pretty bonkers. This hero is probably one of the best offlane supports to play this patch. His new innate ability, Foul Play, effectively gives you one free Aeon Disc-esque enhancement whenever you're about to die. This can be really strong against maybe a Legion commander who's seeking to duel you to death, though his innate ability doesn't work against Necrophos or Axe. But really what it allows Shadow Shaman to do is feel more comfortable ganking and maximizing his shackle duration under the guise that he has one Foul Play to help out of bad situations. To add, Shadow Shaman's facet, Cluster Cluck, actually does work to save allies against Necrophos' ultimate ability, and what's better is that it basically doubles the value of your Blink Dagger, where you can use Hex to gank an enemy or to save an ally with the basic Dispel. Don't forget that Shadow Shaman still has his level 20 talent, which allows you to break enemies with Hex. This has grown in value since a lot of heroes' innate ability are now passive abilities or passive ability related. In short, Shadow Shaman with Foul Play really allows you to take risks, hold shackle on enemies for as long as possible, and ultimately be more initiating than ever before. For a hero with no escapes, Foul Play is a nice addition to a relatively aggressive hero. Cool, so real simple. So for now, try out these heroes and definitely take advantage before developers start applying adjustments to everyone's facets. I think 7.36 should be coming around. Check out Dota2ProTracker.com to see which heroes are having a lot of success this patch, which is what I regularly use actually to update my popular guides. Heroes I didn't get to mention but are also seeing a lot of success: Chaos Knight, Axe, and Meepo, who've received so much better scaling and application to their core values in matches, and I think they honestly just shouldn't be overlooked. If you like these videos, please share them so I can grow. Best of luck in game, and as always, if you have questions, just leave them down in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them, or you can ask me live while I'm on Twitch.